Many believe that the Megalodon is long dead, just a giant shark that went extinct millions of years ago. But the ocean is vast and mostly unexplored. The idea of a ginormous predatory shark lurking in the depths isn't out of the realm of possibility. What if this massive predator isn't as extinct as we thought? These are unsettling sightings of the Megalodon that have scientists concerned. Good lord, look at the size of this thing. This might be one of the most incredible pieces of shark footage that I've ever seen. I mean, if that's not a Megalodon, I don't know what is. Of course, it's not actually a meg, but the Megalodon connection isn't really that far off. This is a blunt-nosed sixgill, an ancient shark species that was swimming around before most dinosaurs even came about, so that's pretty cool. This video was shared to YouTube by OceanX, who managed to tag the monster from a submersible. This was the first time that had ever been done. Now, until this moment, they were only able to tag them by bringing them to the surface first. Next up, we've got an incredible sighting of a gigantic sixgill shark that was caught on video. Footage shared by Hurl's Sub Ops on YouTube showcases a dive off the coast of Molokai, Hawaii. Now, take note of the two red dots that they're shining on the shark. Those are used to determine the length of the animal. The dots are 6 inches apart, and while that may not seem like a lot at first, again, put it into perspective here. Those dots take up just a small fraction of the shark's full length. This behemoth was estimated to be around 18 feet long, 3 times the height of an average adult. And if you think that's impressive, just look at how thick and muscular the shark is. The parts of the video where the shark is up close is pretty unsettling, but it looks even more impressive as it swims away. It really puts its full size into perspective. Take a look. I'm just very glad that we live on land. Coming in next is an image that caused quite a stir amongst shark fanatics, the infamous Megalodon Lives photo. This image was featured in a Megalodon documentary on the Discovery Channel. It appears to show a ginormous shark gliding through the water off the coast of South Africa. Now, at first glance, it looks so big you'd probably think it was a whale. Some people even thought it could be 2 sharks swimming together, but no, that's not the case. This is one animal. The distance between the fin and the mass of the shark closer to the camera apparently measures in at 47 feet. Not sure how true that is, but I mean, if that is the case, then that's nuts. To put that into context, that's almost the length of a sperm whale. Just imagine swimming in the ocean and seeing something that colossal swimming alongside you, and then finding out it's a shark. A shark like that may make you want to rethink your next beach outing. Now let's talk about deep blue. Deep blue is considered one of the largest great white sharks ever recorded, measuring in at 20 feet and weighing over 4,400 pounds. Sounds like a terrifying beast of an animal, but as it turns out, this shark is a gentle giant of sorts, known for being very calm and friendly. To humans anyway. I'm sure the fish she eats don't feel the same way about her. In a now famous video captured off the coast of Mexico in 2014, Deep Blue is seen gracefully swimming near researchers in Hawaii, and it's a pretty breathtaking video. Watching this massive creature glide through the water is kind of mesmerizing. The footage went viral in 2015. What's even more amazing than Deep Blue herself is how chill the people in the cage are. And even crazier, there's a diver on top of the cage who just watches as this real-life Jaws monster swims right past his face. And he watches her like she's just a dolphin. It is worth noting again that Deep Blue has never been known to attack humans, but there's a first time for everything. Take a look at this beast. This is a rather famous photo of a creature dubbed the Albany shark. Just terrifying, especially because we have people right beside it to put it into perspective. They're a little further away from the camera than the shark is, but not by much. This shark could easily fit like 3 or 4 of those people in its mouth. Caught in 1975 by Colin Ossel, who was working for the fisheries department in Albany, this shark weighed in at a jaw-dropping 3,300 pounds. Ossel was no strange to shark fishing. He'd caught plenty of great whites before, but this one was obviously on a whole other level. Catching this thing was no easy task either, as you can imagine. Ossel used a wire snare to reel in the beast, and it took him about half an hour to get it out of the water. At one point, the shark was so strong it lifted the boat up out of the water at a nearly 15-degree angle. Now, why was he hunting the shark in the first place? Well, the goal was to thin out their population to help the local seal population grow. Speaking of massive sized shark photos though, take a look at this one here. This jaw-dropping image was captured by a surfer during a competition near San Clemente during the San Onofre Surf Club's annual event. A massive great white shark showed up. Photographer Jordan Anist snapped the perfect shot just as a surfer rode a wave, completely oblivious to this massive monster shark breaching the water behind him. At first, Anist mistook the giant creature for a dolphin, thinking to himself like, damn, it's a big dolphin, and then proceeded to have a heart attack. He didn't. I would have though. Despite how terrifying this thing is, the shark does have a bit of a happy presence about it, doesn't it? It's the way the fins are turned up like someone just showed up with a cake.
At number 5 is the New Zealand cave dive. New Zealand too? Come on, man. So this alleged megalith of a shark was discovered in a diving cave off the coast of New Zealand. Now, sharks in diving caves are terrifying in their own right, but finding a shark inside of a diving cave? But this ain't just any run-of-the-mill cave-dwelling shark, as the recovered photo depicts what looks to be an insanely massive shark with the vast majority of its body extending beyond the frame. Now, admittedly, it's a bit hard to see how any shark, let alone a freaking megalodon, could fit within the confines of a dive cave. At number 4 is the Coelacanth. For those of you who still doubt the modern existence of a sea creature said to have gone extinct millions of years ago, allow me to introduce you to the Coelacanth. This unique bottom-dwelling fish with lengths reaching upwards of 6 feet and weights exceeding 200 pounds belonged to an ancient lineage dating back to 360 million years ago. Boasting an impressive size and a lifespan comparable to that of a megalodon, at least 60 years, this enormous fish was thought to have gone extinct over 65 million years ago, and yet it was discovered alive and well as early as 1938. So given the sheer scale of the ocean, along with the fact that Megalodon was thought to have gone extinct much more recently, only 3.5 million years ago compared to 65, it may only be a matter of time before the Megalodon is rediscovered in the modern age. One can only hope not. At number 3, the Megalodon attack in Cape Town rips a boat in half. Alright, I'll be honest with you. Admittedly, the next 3 entries are a bit of a cop-out, but they're super intriguing nonetheless. You see, during Shark Week, the Discovery Channel decided to air a mockumentary series about the definitive existence of the Megalodon in the modern age, titled The Monster Shark Lives. But the Discovery Channel failed to include any sort of disclaimer that what was depicted in the film was actually all fake. As a matter of fact, the Discovery Channel casted actors as professionals in marine biology, and all the events in the film were presented as actually being real, leading this quote-unquote educational show to becoming the most viewed Shark Week show to date, generating countless clips that would go on to be perceived as factual to this very day. One such clip depicts the found footage of passengers on a fishing boat, and after some time a thunderous boom can be heard, followed by the sounds of muffled screams and rushing water, accompanied by imagery of the boat being flooded as it flips upside down. The initial story was that a whale had breached over the top of the boat. Upon further investigation of the wreckage by a diving team, they discovered that the boat had been chomped in half. There were no survivors, and the bodies of the fishermen were never found. Well, I'm sure the actors are fine. At number 2, a whale is bitten in half. Our second clip from the Monster Shark Lives docuseries opens with the paid marine biologist Colin Drake going after some handheld video footage that looks really HD for a homemade movie shot in 2009. As the father and son enjoy some fishing off the coast, they spot what looks to be the remains of a beached whale, only the entire lower half of the whale appears to have been bitten clean off. Well, imagine a battle of the titans, a colossal whale grappling with the behemoth of a megalodon. A battle of epic proportions, a dance of primal forces that leaves us on the edges of our seats, but alas, this tale took a somber turn. In this watery arena, victory belongs to the Megalodon. Its massive jaws close around the portion of the whale's tail, a painful reminder of the harsh reality of nature's unforgiving hierarchy. And at number 1 is the oil rig video. Sometimes the most unexpected observers can uncover the most remarkable secrets. You might think that the vast expanse of the ocean is constantly under surveillance by the vigilant gaze of scientists, government officials, and marine experts, right? Well, in this case, according to what I already described as the very reputable Discovery channel, it was actually an 8-year-old prodigy from Chile who discovered something truly out of the ordinary beneath the waves. Now for context, let's quickly go over ocean surveillance. You see, scientists and government agencies have studied the ocean floor with high-tech cameras at key locations, giving us a glimpse into the mysterious world beneath the surface. We're talking about a network of underwater cameras nestled around scientific sites and oil rigs, some of which have live feeds accessible to anyone with a curious itch. So back to our young Chilean protagonist. This sharp-eyed kid was casually monitoring one of these live feeds when he suddenly stumbled upon a sight that sent shivers down marine experts' spines. Behold, a shadowy fin of disastrous proportions cutting through the water with an almost prehistoric elegance. Now the experts, being the skeptics that they are, were quick to assert that there's currently no concrete proof of the legendary Megalodon prowling our modern-day oceans. Yet the fin they encountered on camera was massive. Cue the synchronized video feeds and the math wizards doing their thing. By comparing angles and distances, they sized up this enigmatic creature, revealing an astonishing estimation, a staggering 62 feet in length, give or take. Now that's longer than a school bus, my friends. Now it's just too bad that this sighting was confirmed exclusively by the scientists at the Discovery Channel. At number 10 is the terrifying deep sea footage. Now the degree to which you'll be impressed with this video depends on how you decide to define your scale. So let's be clear. Beast depicted here in this footage is absolutely a shark and is absolutely real, with its very distinguishing gills and pectoral fins. The question is though, is this your run-of-the-mill great white? Or is it a megalodon? That all depends on the size of the fishing cage behind it. See, if we're to presume this to be a standard sized cage at about 10 feet, that would make the shark in front of it just shy of 30 feet wide. And since the shark is so enormous that we never get its entire body within the confines of the frame at once, we can make some estimates concerning the width to length ratio and determine that the shark here is at least 60 feet in length. Now, I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, but I'm new here at Amazing Top 10. So if you're enjoying the video so far and wouldn't mind seeing this face more often, you can support the channel, and me by extension, by pressing like, subscribing to Most Amazing Top 10, and ringing that notification bell. It helps us out a lot, and I personally would really appreciate it. Number 9, caught on satellite. Thanks to satellite technology, we've managed to map out 100% of the ocean floor, despite only having actually explored less than 5% of it. I say we as if I were involved personally. I'm like the nerdy equivalent of a sports fan. Anyways, aerial imagery has allowed scientists to make all sorts of discoveries. So is it that surprising for a behemoth as big as the Megalodon to turn up on something like Google Earth? And as a matter of fact, there was a Megalodon candidate spotted through satellites swimming along the Persian Gulf, which is a Mediterranean Sea in Western Asia, which is essentially an extension of the Indian Ocean between the Arabian Peninsula and Iran. One second, let me just add those to the list of places I will never go swimming. Discovered via Google Earth satellite imagery by researchers from the University of British Columbia, the consensus today is that this shark is between 50 and 70 feet in length. However, the initial calculations gave an estimated range of 80 to 100 feet. Now, it's tough to say what kind of shark this is exactly, as we only have a single image to go off of, but the shape and scale definitely fit the bill, along with the fact that the Megalodon was known to have existed in any ocean environment except for the polar ones, with the vast majority of Megalodon fossils having been discovered in coastal areas and bordering most oceans. Well, I guess I'll be swimming with the penguins from now on. At number 8 is the Brazilian coastline footage. In November of 2012, footage was released from the perspective of a rescue helicopter off the coastline of Brazil. And while the team conducting the rescue were oblivious at the time, technicians reviewing the video after the fact discovered that the team wasn't alone in the ocean that day. If you look carefully in the upper right hand corner of the video as it progresses, you'll notice an absolutely enormous shadow of an uncannily shark-like silhouette moving at an incredible speed below the surface of the ocean. And though it's hard to say for certain, we can use the lifeboat in the video as a reference to deduce that the shark depicted here is at least 60 feet long. At number 7 is the drone footage. Now, while this video isn't associated with any particular reputable research institute or anything like that, it's certainly among the most impressive Megalodon videos I've ever seen on account of the sheer size, clarity of the thing depicted. The video begins with a bird's eye view of a group of 3 children with boogie boards swimming in the ocean. Remember boogie boards? I still have mine. Not that I'll ever be using it again. So the kid on the orange boogie board furthest to the right notices the shadow of something enormous swimming beneath them. The video replays, giving us a wider zoomed out perspective where the absolutely gargantuan shark is revealed in full. Using the boogie boards as reference, it's estimated that this Goliath clocks in at roughly 95 feet long. And if that's truly the case, then this sighting quite possibly depicts evidence of the largest shark ever discovered. Yeah, no, absolutely not. No, thank you. Now, some have tried to call this thing a basking shark or a whale shark on account of its size, but you don't need a degree in marine biology to rule those out. Whale sharks are coated in distinct white spots, whereas basking sharks distinguish themselves with their wide heads, something that whale sharks are also known for. But this shark here ain't got no spots, and its head shape is more in line with that of a great white. So what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. At number 6 is the Mexican black demon. There's a tale that beckons us from the waters of the Sea of Cortez, a realm nestled between the Baja California Peninsula and Mexico's mainland. It's a place where reality blurs with the unknown, as this area is home to some of the strangest and most diverse range of aquatic giants. Welcome to the domain of the Mexican black demon, a name that sends shivers down to the spines of even the most weathered seafarers. Picture this, a creature reminiscent of the iconic great white shark, yet draped in an unsettling shroud of murky hues, as if the darkness of the abyss itself has taken form. Now don't get me wrong, we all know that great whites aren't exactly teddy bears, but the black demon takes it up a notch. Local legends have whispered for years, painting a portrait of a colossal menace lurking beneath the waves. Reporters suggest that it's longer than your average blue whale, stretching up to a staggering 80 feet. Some eager minds point to the possibility of an undiscovered species, or perhaps an oversized great white. Now, I'm a YouTuber, not a marine biologist, so take this with a grain of salt, but given that great whites and megalodons are closely related, choose to say that it ain't a bit of both. Brave souls have embarked on quests to unravel the secrets of this aquatic enigma, but like grains of sand slipping through your fingers, the black demon remains elusive. Sightings are rarer than winning a lottery ticket, leaving us tantalizingly close to the edge of discovery, yet frustratingly distant from grasping its true nature. Could it be a relic of prehistoric times, a survivor from a forgotten epoch, or perhaps a brand new chapter in the oceanic saga of evolution?
In our number 5 spot today, we have deep blue. This shark is in fact not a megalodon, I'll just be honest about that, but it definitely is a more modern contender. Deep blue is the name of a great white shark who is most definitely one of the largest ever recorded, at least in our lifetime. This colossal monster is the largest great white shark ever caught on camera by scientists. She is measured to be 20 feet long, 8 feet high, and about 2.5 tons. And while this isn't all of that huge compared to her massive prehistoric cousin, it certainly is no small feat. Rumors of her existence have been spread since as far back as the 1990s, but it wasn't until 2014 that she was officially caught on camera and documented. Researchers at the time were in the midst of studying tiger sharks, but she made her grand appearance after scavenging some food from a sperm whale carcass nearby. In our number 4 spot today, we have the USS Indianapolis. This is a story that has been considered the worst shark attack in history, which is definitely a horrific thing to think about. In 1945, the USS Indianapolis was an unescorted US warship that was sailing in the Pacific when it was struck by a Japanese torpedo. This had no problem tearing the ship in two, which then meant that 900 sailors were now floating in the ocean waiting for rescue. Over the next 5 days, nearly 600 men lost their lives due to shark attacks. That's either a group of sharks or a few very large, very hungry ones. From the survivors' accounts of what happened over the course of those days, it seemed like an absolutely nightmare situation. This is exactly why it has gone on to be called one of the worst shark attacks in history. In our number 3 spot today, we have Rodney Fox. Rodney Fox is a man who is thought of as one of the best spear fishermen in the world. In 1963, he was partaking in the Australian Spearfishing Championships, which were being held just south of Adelaide, when he went through what is widely regarded as, again, one of the worst shark attacks in history. The shark he encountered bit him around the waist, which ended up puncturing his diaphragm, ripping his lungs, and crushing his rib cage. Not only this, but the attack left his organs exposed, so much so that when he finally made it back to shore, those rescuing him had to keep his wetsuit on to ensure that his insides actually stayed on the inside. Despite the fact that Rodney needed at least 4 hours of surgery and about 400 stitches, like many people who have had these sort of terrifying encounters, rather than shying away from sharks and the water, he leaned in. He actually became an advocate for sharks after this. He created the first underwater shark observatory and helped to dispel the rumors that sharks are bad, crazy, scary animals that we should all fear. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Jersey Shore. Back in 1916, during the summer season, there were 5 different shark attacks that occurred over the span of 10 days that ended up in the deaths of 4 people. This wasn't something that had been seen before in the area, which of course left people speculating as to why this was happening. There was a heat wave in the area during the time, which likely led to more people being out, enjoying summertime sort of activities, and maybe this attracted the shark, but in the end, no one knows for sure, because no one even knows what kind of shark is responsible for the attacks in the first place. Luckily, this didn't go on to become a continuous trend, and whatever shark this was, it went on its merry way, or perhaps found another source of food, but this series of attacks definitely definitely kept the public on edge for the weeks and months surrounding. In our number 1 spot today, we have Watson and the shark. For this one, we are headed all the way back to 1749 with a cabin boy named Brooke Watson. Brooke was swimming in the Havana harbor when he had his encounter with a shark. This one grabbed him by his right foot and dragged him underwater. The shark got a second chomp on his foot before a rescue boat was able to come and save him. The sailor on the boat managed to get the shark to back off enough that they could get Brooke out of the water. Brooke lost his lower leg, but his life was saved, which is absolutely the most important part. Brooke's story is not over, however, as he went on to become a member of Parliament and eventually Lord Mayor of England. He was so proud of himself for not only surviving a shark attack, but then going on to earn this title that he commissioned famous artist John Singleton Copley to create a painting called Watson and the Shark, which detailed his terrifying encounter and probably went on to scare a ton of people at the time. Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have the Demon. There are many stories and alleged sightings of what is now referred to as the Black Demon of Cortez, which is said to be a massive black shark seen off of Mexico's Baja coast. One story in particular regarding this elusive shark comes from a fisherman named Eric Mack. He had reported that one day while sailing he felt his boat begin to rock, which immediately gave him the feeling something was awry. Eric was even further startled when he explained that he saw a massive, towering tail sticking at least 5 feet out of the water. The stories of this shark are so infamous that it was even the focus of an episode of a History Channel show called Monster Quest. Maybe if there's a part 2 of this video, we'll talk about some more of the sightings around the Demon. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Prehistoric Monster. Back in 1959, a fisherman named Tex Geddes and his friend James Gavin were boating somewhere just off of the coast of Scotland. It is said that during their time out to sea, they encountered a sea monster that neither of them had ever seen before. They described its head as being sort of turtle-shaped and that it was a quote hellish monster of prehistoric times, and said that it was breathing heavily through a quote large red gash of a mouth. Okay, not exactly a kind description, but definitely a bit of a terrifying one. I think it's important to bring up that we actually don't really know what megalodons look like. We have a sort of idea, but at the end of the day we only have some fossils, jaws, spines, teeth. It doesn't really leave us that much to work with. While it isn't quite clear what these two men saw for sure, and it's likely that we'll never know, whatever it was definitely wasn't just the average sea creature. In our number 8 spot today, we have the TikTok shark. In May of last year, someone on TikTok called Alex Albrecht, who is a marine biodiversity student as well as a musician, shared a video on the app that had people seriously shocked. The TikTok shows a massive shark lurking around the ship that Alex was on, which is said to have been just off of the coast of Massachusetts at the time. The ship was full of research students when this massive shark made its appearance, many of which either screamed or had some sort of expletive in response. Another TikTok user asked in the comments if the shark in the video is a megalodon, considering how absolutely huge the thing was. Was this an actual megalodon? Likely not, but hey, I'm not the marine biodiversity student here, so who am I to say? In our number 7 spot today, we have snorkeling. Robert Pamperin and a friend, Gerald Lair, were snorkeling off of La Jolla Cove in California in 1959 when Robert was attacked by a shark. It is said to have all happened quite quickly, and Gerald was alerted to the distress when he heard Robert scream. Gerald turned and saw Robert unusually high in the water, and his mask was missing. At this point, Gerald dove under, and this is when he realized exactly what was going on. There was a shark that had Robert in its mouth up to his waist. Unfortunately, there really wasn't much that Gerald could do to stand up to this absolutely massive shark that he described as larger than your average great white. Robert sadly did not survive the event, and by the time rescuers arrived, they were only able to locate one of his fins. In our number 6 spot today, we have the photographer. This is an encounter that occurred just last year in November, basically a year ago. Underwater photographer Darren Verbeck was diving off of the coast of Hawaii's Big Island when he saw what he thought was a school of fish. He began to get closer, I mean the whole photographer thing, and as he got closer he started to think that what he was actually seeing was a tiger shark. He got even closer, and that's when he said, quote, "I kept looking at the head. I'm like, that is not a tiger shark." And it got closer and closer, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. Darren continued to get closer to the shark and estimated it to be over 15 feet, which is definitely quite large. He explained that the shark was not acting in a threatening way, so he continued to take his photos and shot as much as he could before the massive shark decided to swim away. Experts explained that the shark was likely in the area because of humpback whales, and honestly, I don't want to see the shark that could take down one of those beasts.
The giant shark footage. This video shows a large ripple in the water as a large creature moves below the surface. Then the camera pans down to reveal an enormous shark cruising through the water. It's hard to believe how truly massive it is. The camera just keeps panning and panning across this massive shark body, effortlessly gliding through the water. What's nuts is that this shark creates such a powerful ripple in the water, and its fin isn't even poking out of the top. The ripple looks like it was caused by the boat, not a creature. Without seeing the shark at the end, that's probably what you'd think. Megalodon swims beside U-boats. This is a pretty dubious one, but it's got a really entertaining backstory, so I figured I'd include. Supposedly, this is a megalodon, or at least a very large shark, swimming alongside German U-boats. The image showed up in a very controversial documentary about the megalodon. The eerie image shows two U-boats navigating the waters off Cape Town, South Africa, with a massive fin rising above the surface nearby. And according to the claims, it's a colossal 64-foot creature, which would be on the higher end of the scale of a megalodon's length. Now, most experts have determined that this image is doctored, but if this photo were genuine and had somehow been hidden for decades, it would completely alter our understanding of marine life. The Mariana Trench Meg. This footage, shared by Deep Sea Oddities on YouTube, was recorded by a Japanese marine biology study about a mile underwater in the Mariana Trench. And holy, this may be the most frightening looking shark I've ever seen, probably. Not because of its size, although don't worry, that is very much a factor here, but its appearance. This thing looks like a zombie shark. It's an undead shark. And it gets so close to the camera too, like too close. Hard not to cringe a little as it gets up to the camera. The footage shows this shark moving toward a baited cage, and it really puts things into perspective. The creature just dwarfs it. It certainly doesn't look like it's been missing any meals. Next up, we have footage of a gigantic shark swimming beside a research vessel, captured on TikTok in 2021 by marine biodiversity student Alex Albrecht. The clip shows a massive shark gliding alongside the ship off the coast of Massachusetts. When you compare the size of the shark to the students watching from the safety of the ship, it becomes clear just how gigantic this creature is and how glad you are that the students are in the safety of a ship. Albrecht filmed the shark from way up in the ship's mast as well, so the scale is even more impressive than it appears on camera. You can hear someone jokingly asking if it's a megalodon, and honestly, I'm not even sure if they were joking. And finally, we have the legendary Hornet breach footage, which is an absolute must-see for any shark fan. This is a video of a truly enormous great white shark as it launches itself out of the water. So a crew had set out to sea, with one of them being towed in a cage submerged underwater. Very brave man. Then they baited the water and waited for the show to begin. And suddenly, the shark appears, and the sheer size of it is just breathtaking. After grabbing the bait, it breaches the surface, showing its full power and gargantuan presence. Australian news anchors were left speechless after this footage aired. One stated, "I'm never going in the water again." And if you ever hear an Aussie say they're never going to the beach or the water because of a giant shark, just listen to them. You know that shark's got to be big.